We're back, HUI with HOKA. I think it's episode 14. Today is the...
Welcome back.
17th of June 2023. It is a beautiful Saturday. It is our second go at you, actually, because...
First official.
The first
one didn't quite happen.
But, of course, the host, Armin Schmidt, and behind the camera, or not so much behind the camera, because he is right there. Tim Stevens, the man, the myth, the legend when it comes to multimedia and bringing this all together eventually, this whole product that we're doing here. And our guest today, Mr. William Smart.
I was wondering if you would address me by my full name. So now my secret identity is no longer a secret. So thank you. That was...
German handshake. Killed up.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So first what I want to say is I'm loving the setup of the room. So, one thing that I like, the details. The spinning chairs, I can address you. And now without having to change the position of my body, I can now address you. So
German efficiency,
this is German efficiency. We actually just talked about German efficiency outside.
Oh, yeah?
In the context of taking a shit. Could you elaborate on this?
Yeah, I can actually. We watched some UFC fights once upon a time at a restaurant, cafe, bar. And it was a pretty spectacular fight. I was saying in between rounds, the break is a minute. And I was like, I can make this.
Me and Ezra.
Comfortably. I went to the toilet, took a shitter, came back comfortably in a minute. I still had time. I think I came back in when I did the clap, 10 seconds.
Turns out they can do everything efficiently in Germany. Me and Ezra were.
Everything. But William Smart, you are a performance specialist. So let me read this out loud. My punchline for today is from pizza, pasta, Pepsi and PlayStation to peak performance specialist for combat. It's not wrong.
Thank you.
My friend, you worked with, or you are working with the best of the best in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and especially here in the beautiful Waikato. For instance, someone that is about to go on the contender series for the UFC, Mr. Matt Vale, the Viper, who's been taking heads off here in the Australasia region for I don't know how many years now. So he's an MMA fighter. Bill works with him. Also the Oceania champ, current Oceania champ Ezra Bergen from this region is one of your prodigies. You also work with New Zealand cycling and rowing. You go into schools to change their curriculums in the Waikato for, better performance-based and, getting the students engaged a bit more. And you work with High Performance Sport New Zealand as a strength and conditioning coach. Anything else that you would like to add to your rep? I mean, there's probably a million more things, but...
No, I think that sounds awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. There's, a lot of stuff.
But when we came from, the preparation stage of this, I was asking you, what would you like to have in there? And you said, I want to have the origin story. So by me giving the intro about pizza, pasta, it's pretty straightforward. How did you get from once upon a time, and I say this with the utmost respect because the evolution just took you to this position today. How did you get from fat kid to combat performance specialist? How did that happen?
I appreciate that. To be fair, I probably have one of the most unorthodox backgrounds to where I am now. I think if you were to ask I know a lot of very high level strength conditioning coaches, and my background is very different, which is cool. So we're gonna go to that. But first, ask me about my outfit.
Well, your outfit is pretty.
What was the inspiration?
Well, to put it bluntly, it was confidence.
Okay.
So, the gloves, of course, make me feel like I'm ready for some sort of altercation.
Cool.
So, give me a little bit of additional mana. The jersey, it doubles in. It's like I am wearing a cape. And of course, we know superheroes wear capes.
Yes, this is true.
But also, crossing it over, it's like I'm also receiving a hug from this jersey.
Yeah.
We got the shirt, the collared shirt.
Chain.
Bit of bling.
Bit of bling, yeah.
And we got the track pants, so I was going for formal, professional, but comfortable. Same with the socks.
That being
I-
said,
Yeah.
I will just make one alteration, just out of fear that we might be rubbing the microphone.
Oh,
You're gonna have to lose your hug, unfortunately.
it's okay. We'll come to that. I'm just gonna put this hug back on. Thank you, Tim.
There you
Just
go.
a bit lower.
But of course, I am taking the piss. But I think it is also this is a good representation of who I am
Who you are.
as a person.
Colourful.
Not the most serious, I like to have a laugh. But also I like to pay attention to little details. And
You got a haircut recently too.
I got a haircut recently just for this. That's a lie.
Oh,
That's a lie.
you sold it.
But little details matter, and obviously I'm joking, but I can often give a rationale for little random things that no one cares about.
And you also
And-
just trained with the team.
I did.
Not just on the clock, yelling out. You trained with the team on the back, doing some intervals.
It was hard.
He looked for someone who was just sweating a few seconds ago.
It was hard, honestly. It was cool. I came in early too. Did a bit of jiu-jitsu with Aiden. Jumped in with the team on the bag today. We've got Ethan Brockett fighting July 1st at Shuriken in Auckland. So we've got his specific conditioning, and honestly, it was pretty fucking hard. So
I've heard it's a title eliminator.
is it? I'm not.
That's the word on the street.
That's not. I haven't heard, but to me, it does make a difference.
It does make a difference. We love him,
to be
dearly.
honest. Anyways, but
it.
now that I can, I've talked about all this stuff. I can now remove my costume and simply be myself. So it's great.
Fantastic.
Thank
Good
you.
for the intro, yeah.
Yep.
And
These away.
you work with so many different athletes from so many different branches. New Zealand cycling, rowing. You work with boxers. Etc., etc. But combat, this is your specialty. So you know a lot about this, but this is your niche that you want to be, or that you are already pretty good at. But let's go back to it. I gave you your moment with your intro and whatnot. How did it come about? Because even when I met you a few years ago, when did I actually meet you? 2019?
2019.
Must have been. You had a few more kgs already. It's been this narrow road of refining yourself, gaining more knowledge, fighting yourself also. You had a boxing match, you're looking into kickboxing, eventually MMA. So you're practicing what you're preaching, but because we're friends outside as well, I know that back then, and you still have some of those habits, a bit of video gaming every once in a while, that's absolutely fine. You love to have a solid burger and whatnot, but now you know the ratio, your protocols. Back then it was a little bit different. So do you want to take us all the way back to when Willie was a bit different?
So it all started on the 24th of December 1993 when I was created into the world. No. So pretty much I grew up pretty overweight, and that's a bit of an understatement. So I was pretty fat as a kid. I probably was okay until maybe 8-ish, and I actually did play sports, sort of. I played some sports. I didn't play a heap. I played a bit of soccer, played a bit of cricket. That's probably most of what I did when I was quite young, early primary school. But after that, didn't really do much. Didn't do a lot of sports. Didn't do a lot of sports in school in general.
Weren't keen on it?
Nah. I think it was initially, I don't know if it was, it's hard to really say, but I was pretty fucking overweight, and it would have been, after 8, got pretty bad. And I think a combination of that, I wasn't great in school, and it was probably just embarrassing to take part in sports with other kids, and kids and it's interesting now that I do a little bit of work at a school. I do a bit of work with kids to help them be better at their sports, help influence their curriculum for essentially. It's so funny. I was the kid at school who didn't like sports because I wasn't good at sports, and the things that you would do at school would reinforce how not good you are.
Pretty much.
And as the byproduct of that is kids are not very nice.
Yeah.
Which is pretty lame. So, and the contrast now is I'm in a position as an adult in schools, looking at essentially creating. This is a small part of what I do. Creating a PE curriculum using different movements, different like game-based settings to reinforce sporting skills, but really without being too sport specific. And then I have another group that it's all about like getting better at sport stuff. But it's funny because it's kind of like, this is the stuff that I wish I could do when I was in school.
Yeah.
Like this would have made all the difference. And it's kind of crazy how that influences you as you get older.
Yeah.
But yeah, so fat kid in school, didn't play a lot of sports, wasn't good at school, wasn't good at sports at all, was terrible. You know, it's essentially like the perfect like recipe for, you know, being bullied and not feeling great about yourself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the climate that sort of I was in, and of course like those things sort of compound. Yeah, intermediate school was the same. Got into a lot of fights at school actually when I was in primary school. I think that was like largely to do with, you know, being bullied and not having like an outlet for expression, if that makes sense. Things would manifest like violently, which is obviously not ideal. But yeah, and then that was the same. Intermediate school was the same. High school got, you know, continued sort of that climb. I remember I got to like 100 and something kilos at 17 years old. By 17 years old, I probably was 100 kilos at 16 years old.
I've seen photos he showed me.
Trust, like honestly, like
you couldn't believe it's him.
It's all I've ever known is build
like this, yeah.
Man, like, and like the thing is, like when I say 100 kilos, you don't realize how heavy that is for me. So as a contrast, I went through like that at school, got fat as fuck, and then at like 17, I was like, fuck this. Like it sort of got to that boiling point where I was just sick of all the shit, like sick of feeling a certain way, sick of not liking myself, like sick of like how my like environment and relationships would feel just with different people, friends, that sort of stuff, friends. And then that sort of sparked the start of that journey. And just to contrast how heavy 100 kilos is for me, or I probably got up to close to 105, it's hard to say. I got down to 66 kilos when I started my degree, which would have been when I was 19. So 66.6 was the lightest I ever got to. So we're talking like, that's a, what's that, 34 kilos?
That's massive, dude.
It's a lot of weight, like, because I'm not a big dude. I haven't got a massive frame, and like, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
I can't even imagine you at 100 kilos.
Man, I was bad. I knew I was doing a bit of lifting at the time. Like I started lifting at 15, but it was pretty terrible. You know, like kid doesn't like no idea what you're doing. I definitely like I was in the gym, didn't play sport, just doing everything wrong.
How does that help you coming into like what you do now, especially with kids, having gone through it? It's not like you've been Mr. Athletic your entire life, but now you've been from one end of the spectrum. Now you're surrounded by people at the top of their game and like peak performance. You're at the other end of the spectrum. Does that make it easier for you to communicate with children? You found that you understand the problem better, maybe?
I just feel like it gives me more like empathy and care, if that makes sense. Like I can view it from a different point of view. Like I know what it's like for those kids who are, you know, don't like PE and like, you know, don't feel good about themselves or feel like they can't do things. And for me, it was like when I like came into that, it was most of the reason that I did it, to be honest, was like, cool, like I can give these kids what I wish I had. Because like that kind of stuff is, you know, like, you know, being bullied and feeling shit about yourself and being bad, like essentially like what I had is just constant reinforcement that I wasn't good at stuff. And that's something that essentially has like followed me through life. Even now it's something that I have issues with, which is not something I want for kids. So it was kind of like an opportunity to do that. And especially the kids who were a little bit like that, you know, I'm good at what I do. I understand how to scale things well to the point where even like a kid who's similar to how I was can do it. I can scale from that level to an elite athlete level. And that's something that I've got from experience, because I've had a lot of experience and a lot of reps. And I've been in so many different places myself that I have an idea around. I've got a better idea around how, like all those steps of the ladder, if that makes sense.
But 17, like what was do you remember the moment of you being like, fuck this, I'm done, I want to lose weight,
Rainy Tuesday.
Rainy Tuesday.
I can't remember. I remember the feeling. And it was like, of course, like, I think there's and it would have been the same for me. I think anyone who is overweight or, you know, like doing things that they know that they shouldn't do, or being in situations they know that they shouldn't be in, the first, you know, there's always like a, not always, but if you've been there for a long time, there's like a denial stage, as in like you'll say whatever you need to feel safe. And I remember like, oh, it's like the cringiest thing that I'm like, oh, the cringiest thing. I remember like, because I was like in the gym, but like I wasn't, you know, it's just like lifting a few weights. I sucked. Like it was terrible. I was like the worst. Like seriously, like I have been the worst. Anyways, I remember like going to school and like telling my friend who like came to the gym with me one time, like, oh, I hit 100 kilos. Like I was proud of it. I was like, and like just so cringy. Anyways, like, and you know, a big part of that would have been just like to just, you know, safe, like stay safe inside. But yeah, I just remember the feeling like, I think it was just sick of, I think there's a combination of when like you don't like yourself and your outer environment is reinforcing that as well, in terms of like the way people treat you. And I can't remember what it was. One day I was like, fuck this. And it was like, it was pretty clear from there, like the process was, you know, it was pretty linear, which like most processes do this from like, that was powerful enough. I wish I knew, like, it was just an accumulation of shit. It was like a lifetime of shit.
What changed though? Did your eating habits change? Did you start exercising more?
So like for me, like it was, I did an absolute crap ton of research. And I mean, I think it was funny because I was terrible in school. I was so bad in school, and it was like, at that stage I was sort of like the cogs were turning, and as I sort of like finished school, I was like, all my friends, like my friend group, you know, they were quite good at school, and then there was me. And then as soon as school finished, it was like things changed. And like straight away I was like, okay, like researching stuff and just, you know, trying to be better. Like, and then, you know, a lot of them ended up sort of, you know, going off to university and, you know, partying and being retarded. Can we say that?
Say what you want.
People out there.
Okay, cool. So like, and it was just like, it was crazy how things like all of a sudden went like this. But it was cool because I think it was through that process, you know, I struggled with things, so I made up for it by researching and just trying to figure out stuff. And I was obsessed. So I was consuming content, reading books, watching videos, like literally 24/7. Apart from when I was training, I probably was still like listening to audiobooks. So I went through that process, and the biggest things were I was lifting the whole time, because that was one of the big things. Diet was pretty much the main thing that I did. So I learned a lot about nutrition. I did it pretty strict in terms of monitoring exactly what I was eating. So it was calories, you know, basic stuff, but I did it to the extreme, which was, I don't think it was unhealthy. It was actually, I think it was healthy, but a little bit contradicts what I would suggest now to a point. So
yeah, you're more educated now.
Yes, I mean the same principles apply though. So like it was really handy for me. It was, you know, like work out how many calories can I consume a day, and then break down those calories into macronutrients, which is, you know, your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. All of those have a certain assignment of calories. So the entire quantity, maybe I eat 2,200 calories a day, X amount is protein. How much protein do I need to eat?
Right.
How many carbs do I need to eat? And it made it pretty simple. Like, so essentially it was, you know I can eat this many calories a day, and if I hit this many calories, I'll lose weight. If I eat more than this, I won't lose weight, and if I eat less than this, I'll lose weight a little bit faster. So it just made things pretty black and white, and I just got into a good routine. I logged everything that I ate to the gram, and nailed that all the time. I started doing a bit of cardio towards the end, but I was mostly just dieting and lifting.
Nice.
But how do you figure it out? It's all like try and error, isn't it? Like, you know both ends of the spectrum now. You've been very heavy. You've been down to 66 kgs. You know everything in between. You played around with nutrition, exercise. You've been through those hoops as a young kid as well. You know what it feels like, you know, the bullying and whatnot. And it's all experience in the end of the day. Eh? Now you know how to channel all of this to do what you're doing, you know, and then you can apply it to the schools, you apply it to your athletes. Because some of the athletes that you're working with that I know as well, you know, they maybe have not so diligent with their foods, but they make up for it with something else. But you need to know, your you know, the people that you work with, so how to like handle them properly, you know. Okay, I give them a little bit more of this, but okay, you gotta show me a little bit more of that, so it balances it out. I guess it's just all experience, but I'm assuming that when you did all the research and whatnot, and all of a sudden you had your own avenue of like, oh, I can actually do something with this. This is when you got interested in like studying and going to university and doing this as a degree and as a job as well.
Yeah, it was like really just because I didn't. I didn't like really play. I played table tennis in high school. I was I think I was D grade champion, by the way. That was the lowest grade.
I have no idea. Is that good or bad?
That was the lowest grade.
Champion.
On
the lowest grade.
So you know, hey, winning's winning. So, but like I was, you know, the next part of the story is I wasn't playing any sports competitively, but I was playing video games competitively. So pretty much, I'll tell you how it started. I had an Xbox. Well, actually, I had gaming consoles all my life. PlayStation 1 when I was younger. You know, played Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
Yeah.
I actually just got the remastered Spyro and have been playing it recently. Oh, it's cool. Like, and so Wick's playing it with me. I'm like
bonding.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Like, I'm like re-experience. You know, nostalgia.
Well,
but then also, but also like sharing it too. Oh, it's cool.
It's the initial PlayStation logo sound for me.
Yes. Oh man.
Every time that.
But then at the same time, did you ever have like all of a sudden the disc isn't like reading and then it like cuts out? So like even just like I think about that, but then I'll skip straight to like, oh, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But, like no, but seriously, and this is how like shit works with like the whole like feeling not good about stuff. You skip back to these like feelings, and that's it's
interesting. Your brain keeps a catalog of
it does.
reactions.
It's conditioning.
Even after 10 years or 15 years.
What was the game that you played competitively? No,
come on. I wasn't that much of a nerd. No, I'm just kidding. I play RuneScape. Anyways.
I played RuneScape.
I still play RuneScape.
You still do? Alright,
you know, some things, well, just keep it, you know, if it made you happy as a child or like, you know, teenage years and it gets you away from all your troubles. I mean, what's the difference between that and training? Of course, there's a benefit to it to a certain degree as well.
Man, like so I started playing Call of Duty when I was maybe, 13. I played a lot and I got really good. Like there was a lot of tournaments back then. And I was playing in tournaments for like thousands of dollars. And this is when I was like 14 years old. I think I won money playing too. Sure. Like the highest prize pool that there was probably like 10K at the time. But I was one of the best players in the country, and I was so good that I was playing like in the Australian teams because at one stage I think I might have been one of two players playing in like the Pro Australian League.
Wow.
Like one of two New Zealand players, and it was like it wasn't sport, but it was sport. Like the more time I spent in sport, in terms of outside of the like physical skills, it's the same sort of stuff when it comes to like this is, you know, the game was Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Similar to like this is a game of soccer. This is my position in the game. This is my team. This is my role within the team. This is my understanding of the game. Yes. And it was like I was this was just back then it was, you know, I was quite young and I was just obsessed with just trying to be better. And I put a lot of time into it. Like it was pretty crazy. We would do, you know, we'd have like, and the thing with video games is here's the difference, is that you can only do sport for so many hours. You can play video games for a long time.
Yes.
Like as in like the amount of repetitions you can get.
But look at the smile on his face.
Yeah,
like instantly he's like,
how many times I've played to the point where my dopamine receptors are fried.
100%. But then like there's the counter to that is then you start to discover like, you know, there's always a point where you start to go down. But like, man, like the amount of time and effort that I spent trying to figure out how to be better at playing the game was outrageous, and I got very good. Like same with like the mental skills and like playing, performing under pressure. Like tournaments were big, like they would be streamed live. There'd be thousands of people watching live. I'm a 14-year-old kid playing in front of 2,000-3,000 people. There are points in like the way the game would work. It'd be 5 versus 5. If you die, you're out for the round. And essentially, you can either essentially the goal is to take out the other team or to like plant this bomb and it blows up. But the amount of times where I'm the one person, there's 3 or 4 people alive on the other team. Sure. If I can't take out these 3 people, our team is out of the tournament, and there's thousands of people watching. That's pressure, like, and especially as a kid. And I loved it. I was good like under those like environments, and like where like it doesn't like there's like character, like some of the traits that made that work have carried through well as an adult to other areas.
Well, you're still super competitive.
100%.
I can tell.
100%.
No matter what, if we play table tennis, if we do X, Y, Z, there's always like this edge that comes through of like, oh, I can do this better.
Yeah.
At 100%. I'm ultra competitive, but I'm not overly good at things. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, and like not being good at things in a way throughout my life has been a superpower, because it's meant that I've had to find ways to make shit work. I've had to put more time into figuring out how to make things work and how to be better at stuff.
Yeah, and you figure out how to make it work off the back of generally your own skill.
100%. I've never been good at anything. Like, and that's just how it is. And like as a kid, it was the worst thing ever, because you get like people pick on you for stuff like that. Like as an adult, it's and developing as a teenager into a young adult, and as an adult, like it's changed the way that I approach things. Like, and it's probably fed on to how I've become more of like a problem solving person, if that makes sense. And like my view of things now is like, if there's a problem, there's a solution. Like there's always a way to do something. You just have to figure out how to do it. And if I was someone who things just worked every time I did it, why would I have that? Like, so it's a gift and a curse.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's interesting. Do you think that's something that you get as you're approaching the, like, we're had our 20s, you and I are almost 30 now.
Yes.
You've like, that's like the first decade of like real world, it's all on you lessons. With school, it's kind of like you've got parents, you've got teachers, there's other people who are influencing your life. Whereas now it's finishing the decade basically of all on you. Now you can look back and see these things like, oh, I'm actually glad that I had that problem in my life because it taught me how to do this. Now that I have the similar problem, I know how to do it better.
Like life happens in seasons. And, the season up to you're like 20 years old is pretty easy. Well, it should be pretty easy. You've got parents looking after you, just go and do stuff. And I think, like, in a way, like, that for me, like, don't get me wrong, like, people have actually hard stuff that happened to them as kids. Like, it wasn't, like, that's nothing compared to a lot of people. But, like, it was enough that it probably created the attributes, and sort of got my mind, like, churning and thinking in a way that really helped set me up. If I just had it just super easy, then I probably just would have been...
Where do you think the experience comes from? Like, it has to come from the experience. This is how you accumulate.
100%.
Can't just give you the pill, you swallow it, and then all of the things. Like, you got to actually feel it. You got to go through it with all your emotions, with your physical being to, like, understand it. And, sorry, I got to cut in here because I got to bring us back. We went from... Of course, you being overweight as a child, teenager as well, playing competitively, even if it's computer games, to then realizing, I can do a little bit more with my life, or I want to change things. You start researching, and then you went into university, finished your university degree.
Let's get back. Let's go into that.
Your university degree? Because I was about to cut in, you've got your university degree, strength and conditioning, and then you specialized, of course, combat sports. Like,
yes.
Like, what was the decision there?
Yeah, cool.
Why did you go from you've got like this fundamental understanding now of strength and conditioning coming out of university? Why did you want to do work with combat sports athletes like boxers, kickboxers, mixed martial artists, MMAs taking over the world, as we all know, BJJ? You do that as well with the competitive grappling team here in Hamilton, New Zealand, out at Core. So tell us.
So funny. It's actually a funny story. It's a funny story. Going through all that stuff, I think like the biggest thing I took away from it is I like training, and I like understanding how things work. So like on that, I was like, I'm gonna do a sports science degree, and like I didn't want to do a certificate, and I don't know why. Like at the time, I was kind of thinking like I'd be a personal trainer or something. In which case, the certificate would have been fine. But I guess I just thought that I wanted to have options. Maybe like I wanted to go a bit more in depth because I enjoyed the learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I did bad at school, so I had to go do a bridging course at Wintec. Went and did that, 6 months, done, started a sport and exercise science degree. And I'm now in class, and I'm in a class, and everyone's like a sporting person. So, I mean, I did gym stuff, I enjoyed science, so I enjoyed understanding why things work. I literally didn't even watch any sports at that time. So I wasn't like doing any sports, and I wasn't watching any sports. I'm in a class full of people who do sports, and like it was a pretty weird feeling. It really made me feel like pretty bad, like an imposter almost. And I remember them like going around the table and asking everyone like on the first week or whatever, like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your goal? And like to me, I was like, strength and conditioning. At the time, I didn't even know what that meant. I just said it because I didn't really know. And then sort of went through my first year, did pretty well. And in my second year, so one of my very good friends was a kickboxer. And I ended up going and training with him at the kickboxing gym that he trained at. Mm-hmm. And so like anyways, well, we'll come back to this. Life happens in waves. So I started training there, and at the time I started watching a little bit of UFC. And it was UFC, it was McGregor Diaz 2 was like the first pay-per-view that I watched properly. I'd seen bits and pieces, but I went and watched Diaz McGregor 2 at
2016, eh?
2016 at the pub.
I remember that one, yeah.
And man, like I was hooked after that. So I was enjoying training at the time, and like this was year 2. Like essentially my like that was one half of it. This was my introduction to combat sports. I'd sort of started doing a little bit of it, and then I started like really getting invested in UFC. When I was studying, one of my tutors, his name's Sean Patterson, so he was my tutor and became one of my mentors afterwards. Mm-hmm. There was a few opportunities that were coming up in terms of work experience / internships, and I was just keen to just learn. So I just said yes to a bunch of stuff, and that sort of put me in that put me in this like S&C setting, which was cool. So now and essentially like my first job, and I had a lot of I was spending like a lot of, I had a lot of experience from all the stuff that I had done previously because I was researching the crap out of things before that. My first role was in a like high performance development program. So I was like literally working with like international level athletes from the very start. That would have been in 2015, I believe. And that was awesome. And I just said yes to more things and more things and more things. And I ended up, I accumulated a ridiculous amount of experience in those, probably more so in my second year, but end of first year and in my second year. Counter to that was like I got real unhealthy. I wasn't sleeping. I was eating badly, and I got fat again. But anyways, everything happens in waves.
Phases,
yep.
Seasons.
Phases. So I went through that, got so much experience, and then that was when I had done enough of it that now I knew what strength and conditioning was. I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and it just became just more experience climbing the ladder. At the same time, I was getting more and more invested in the UFC. I was doing more kickboxing, and I moved through a few roles. Sort of maybe came to 2017, I did an internship for High Performance Sport New Zealand. That was sort of my entry. And that was a super competitive internship. Like, I didn't realize how competitive. I think I had like 3 interviews for that. It was like it was pretty crazy, honestly. The process was crazy. There was like, I can't remember, there was over 100 applicants. There were people applying with like master's degrees and stuff. I had like just finished. I think I applied right before I finished my degree. And
Maybe they saw your balls hanging.
that's what.
Maybe they saw your balls.
That's what I was thinking. Or just like everything else, you know. Like
But confidence, you know, like I can do this.
Well, it was like when I'm in my second year, like I think I was working at one stage. I was working 2 jobs, doing 3 internships, and studying full time. Like it was grind season. Like like I was sleeping maybe 4 hours a night. Some nights I wasn't sleeping at all, and I was just at the time I was just trying to make it happen. And it was one of the worst times of my life, but also like it set me up so massively. Like had I not done that, I would have never been in a position where I could have even considered getting that. And that's what's catapulted me to being in the roles that I've been in since. But it was horrible. And yeah, got fat again. That sucked. But it was worth it. It was worth it.
Worth it. And look at you now. You're still working with them?
Yep. So I did an internship. Internship was awesome because I had it's a learning experience and you get put in different positions. So I was working with all kinds of different groups, from cycling to rowing. And then I went on to do some work with the New Zealand Sevens team. I did some work with David Nika, who was an Olympic boxer, our Olympic boxer at the last Olympics. And yeah, just all kinds of things in between. Different, we're looking at like the best coaches in the country. I was spending time with them, learning from them, working in their groups, taking sessions, running like testing. It was really awesome.
Sometimes I must say though, sorry for cutting in, but I keep forgetting like how high level the client is of yours. Like I gave a quick intro of like saying Matt the Viper Vale. Everyone in New Zealand, Australia, that region knows him, like he's like above and beyond. And so many others as well, like New Zealand boxing champs, like your partner is a 8-time
national champ, I believe.
Like 8-time national champ. You work out of that gym as well. Then all these people here, for instance, have so much credential, across the board. But because we know all them,
you forget.
That's
becomes normal. Carlos Hicks,
Carlos Hicks, the first Fijian ever to win kickboxing title. He was the previous
number of national champs in the boxing area.
I think that's spectacular, though. Like what you're talking about, how they're just this human. If they can do it, someone else can do it.
Or
you start to humanize.
Look at the previous session before we started recording. Bill, you took a session, strength and conditioning session with the core development squad. There was Ezra Bergen in there. He's the current Oceania champ. Like, what the fuck? Like, he's one of the scariest dudes in New Zealand when it comes to lightweight, welterweight. He competes in MMA. Ethan Brockett, on the rise at the moment. He's known as a stand-up fighter now. He's like
huge potential.
He's a wrestling champion as well. Gus Berrier, representative for New Zealand Sambo, now wrestling MMA fighter as well. And that's just in like one session. And there's countless others examples. It just goes on and on and on and on. And then, it's pretty amazing to see.
I think Aiden and Gus both national champs, jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Sambo, New Zealand representative.
ADCC, but those are the people that we hang out with here, and that you work with. We just drink coffees and train and, have a meal every once in a while and just have a good time. But keep forgetting,
Seriously. It's cool, man. And I think that's for me, it's such a massive thing. And going through that, the internship experience, and then after that, I ran one of the development programs out for HPSNZ there, spent time out at rowing, which I've been at recently as well. And I think it's cool just the environments that you're in are just so important. And being in so many environments with high performing people who have such high expectations, demand for excellence is, it shapes you, you're gonna become who you spend your time around, right?
I agree.
And I think it was just that I was just so fortunate that that was the case. And then when it came to getting more involved here, I could sort of bring that over, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Where you apply it to whatever the job is or whatever the challenge is. But let me ask you, or maybe I throw a milestone in first. So we cut around now to the origin story, to how you actually ended up with combat sports, with the McGregor Diaz too, and then gaining more interest. Your friend who was a kickboxer. But can you give an example, when it comes to S&C or peak performance? because you work with cyclists, rowing, you know, sevens, for instance, and now combat sports athletes. Can you just give an example or compare, like, let's say, what is the difference between a competitive BJJ athlete, for instance, compared to like a cyclist? What are they doing? What are they doing differently? Like, what is the biggest difference?
Honestly, like, so the biggest difference is, and this is something that
choose your own example. You can compare boxing with rowing if you want.
So the biggest difference is, let's just use combat sports as a whole, is like we're just a little bit more fragmented in the combat space, as in like there's a bit less continuity between all the moving parts. That makes sense. So MMA is the best example
because it's so diverse.
Yes, well, it is so diverse. There's a lot of pieces. So MMA is the best example because, you know, we have different martial arts that we're smashing together, but everyone trains separately, right? So that means there's different coaches, so there's more support staff for the athletes. And when there's more things happening, it's harder to coordinate those pieces. But it's not overly common in fight sports at the moment for, you know, like all those people to be in a room to align a program for a certain athlete. And we're talking at a high level here now to coordinate the program so that, you know, we have certain objectives that are across the board. We manage our training load, so like how much training an athlete's doing, everyone's aware of it. So one coach, if there's a recovery week, for instance, you don't have someone who's just destroying the people, like destroying the athlete, which does happen when you don't have communication between parts. The main difference between like those areas, which is professional sport, and the areas that we're in now, which is, you know, it's not the same, is that everyone is connected. So there's an overarching plan. Everyone's on board within that plan. Everyone knows what's happening with all these different pieces, and everyone's coming together to make sure that you get the most out of everything. And a big part of that is controlling the amount of training, when we push, when we pull back, and making sure we have the right emphasis. And of course, like one of the bigger things is like the overarching picture when it comes to our structure, how we structure training. If I know there's a competition over here, I know there's a competition here, how I work back from that and plan this to make sure I get the most out of this. We don't quite have that in martial arts, as in people don't quite have, or coaches don't quite have the support to make those plans happen. Where, for instance, like out at rowing, we've got, you know, physiologists, things like that help fill in those gaps.
Right. Thank you.
Was that a good answer?
Boom. Like,
that's the biggest thing, seriously.
From the hip. Because I didn't tell you beforehand, you know, there was a very specific question. Also makes a lot of sense, you know, because if you look at rowing, it's a very repetitive motion. Like, I'm assuming being on a boat or cycling as well, because they go in circles the whole time.
100%.
Dun, 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 dun.
There's
and MMA, you've got boxing, kickboxing, and then all of a sudden you've got the wrestling or BJJ transition, and you have all the
inside of that, you've got your different style.
100%. There's a lot, and that's the thing. That's the next element, is then like from a technical standpoint, making sure that things match. And I think when you go to like a UFC level, like a UFC championship level, you're gonna have, and you will see it, you're gonna have a head coach. Underneath that head coach, there's going to be your striking coaches, your grappling coaches, your wrestling coaches. But the head coach is what is the person who is, you know, is setting the scene, pulling the strings, making sure everything's happening as needed. This is the difference. Like, that's the difference between the UFC championship level and not.
Talking about that hierarchy, I've got a story here that is related to you. I remember it must have been 16, or when did I come back to New Zealand? 18, 19. I came back, so just after you gained some experience, I remember you having a conversation with a combat sports coach, and it was about an athlete that you looked after as well. And he was like, not taking him like super serious. He said, "Oh nah, if I can just train hard, man, you just gotta push through." And Bill was like, "No, like you're running risk of injury." Like, I was there, like I was listening in the conversation. And I was like, "You can't do this because of X, Y, Z." And you stood your ground. It was pretty cool to see it. And look at the situation now. Like, the coach is not with us anymore. We wish him well, of course, but Bill is still here. And now it's like, when it comes to competition, they run it through him first. It's like, okay, what is the physicality? What do we have to do? What do we have to look at? And, you know, like you're part of the decision-making process here, and not just, oh yeah, we do like the push-ups and whatever the stuff on the side, you know. It's so substantial for what they have to do, injury prevention, the list goes on and on and on. And
That's got to be a massive one, injury prevention, because you're talking about combat sports. The objective is to injure your opponent.
hold back. I know that is a good one. We're getting to this.
I'm
We're
ready.
getting to this. But I know Willie loves a laugh, so I'm gonna ask you this now. After giving this amazing example, you work with people from all walks of life.
I never laugh.
You never laugh. We're just serious.
All right.
School, cyclists, da-di-da. I don't have to sum it up. But there's probably, and please no names, just tell the story. There's probably some cringing moments from all the experience that you gain. So you walk into the gym about to start a session and you see an athlete like warming up in a specific way and you're like, what the fuck? We talked about this for months. Or like, I don't know, just a funny story or two that you have on mind.
Yeah, right. But this isn't a performance story. This was like back when I was just training at the gym when I was
Or maybe
younger.
choose yourself. Yeah, who knows?
This was great. So I was at Les Mills.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was a 2-story building. So there was a downstairs, which was like the dungeon, like weights area. I would have been like maybe 18, 17 maybe even. I like walk downstairs and there's this dude and he's like on a, it's like a Roman chair or a GHD. If you're familiar with those, you like hook your feet in, you can do back extensions.
Yeah.
And like he's got this like med ball. And I'm like, what the fuck's this guy doing? Anyways, so I go to the bench or whatever, because it's probably just doing bench at the time.
Of course, the classic.
Of course, you know. Which is very different from now, by the way. We can talk about philosophies at some stage. Anyways, and then I like hear this smash, and I like look over, and he's like somehow throwing the ball, and like and there's like this glass like door slash window, and he's throwing the ball through the window and smashed it, and I look over, he like looks both ways, and then like walks out of the gym.
Like they don't have cameras.
yeah, and just left, and that was it. He just left. It was hilarious.
Never seen again.
Never. I mean, fuck. Who knows? Is it, damn. Like I can imagine. Like, damn, I got to change gyms again. Like,
Done it before.
Every time.
But how about that question just formed? Why are you telling us this? How about like let's say you have a session with the sevens. You work with the sevens and they've been doing stuff for the warm-up or like something throughout the session where you're like, how did you even get to this point doing this so significantly wrong? Or and then you had to tweak it straight away and say, hey, don't do this because of...
I do think that like, if it's like someone who has a history, as in like, they're good at what they do, they've been doing it for a long time. And if I see things that I think is, silly, I'll just question why I think it's silly. And because like you're probably not like if you're successful, you're in this type of position, you're doing well. Like it's highly possible that my ideas around things aren't correct, or like maybe there's a perspective that I've missed. So I think like it's very rare that there's a lot of times I'll hear stuff that doesn't align with what my current ideas or my ideas or values are around training. But it doesn't mean they're wrong. So I think like there's a lot of scope around stuff. For me, like depending on like the relationship, I might be like, hey, why are you doing this like this? There's not that many times.
Cool. That's really cool. You take the judgment out and it's like, why do I think this way about what?
It's the only way to like understand more. Otherwise, you just if you know and that's everything. Like then where do you go from there?
Yeah, you're right. Too much ego as well. I'm the coach. I'm the one who's
I think for me like there's science and then there's like application. So so it's like what does the latest research say? But then what are the best athletes actually doing? And like they don't always match. But I'm where I'm heavy on the science side as well. I'm more interested in what people who are highly successful are doing to be highly successful. That to me is, I mean, if you're winning and you're winning at a high level, you're probably doing something right. Like what? And then you can deconstruct that. When you deconstruct that, like what are the, why is this the case? That's how I look at things.
Solid.
I like that. That's a really good answer, dude. It's a very, very mature way to look at it. Is there any like common what would you say? Is there any common misconceptions people might have around combat sports that you routinely hear all the time that you find really humorous?
There is a lot of stuff, but I mean, there's always like so the thing is like there's a lot of the different like the thing with combat sports is there's new science and then there's tradition, and like a lot of the stuff like tradition it holds like the stuff that is traditional is probably stuck around for a reason. So a lot of the times like, and a good example is like the long running, and like a lot of people over the last how many years have just been hating on long running for like striking based sports, boxing, whatever, and like running's amazing. Running's great. Long running's good too, but like it's like what it often comes down to is like the dose and the timing. So like everything's dose and time dependent. If I run 5 days a week and I am 3 months away from competition, and I run 5 days a week and I'm like 2 weeks away from competition, and these are all long runs, it's a very, very different thing.
Right.
So I think like the way that I think it comes back to like why has that been around and where is that useful? And for long running, for a good example is it's an amazing thing to do when you're in like a more general training phase. Like, and the long running is great as well. It builds your aerobic endurance, aerobic capacity, your base fitness, and that base stuff is really important the further away you are from competition.
Right.
A lot of the things that people are suggesting instead, which is like high intensity interval training, which is shorter duration work, and then X amount of rest. You'll mix those variables depending on what you want to achieve for it. And that's like more of the stuff that now is being pushed by people as like, this is what you should be doing. And that stuff's great too, but that stuff's good at a certain time maybe as you get closer to fighting. And the way that those intervals change will depend on the time as well. But it doesn't mean that you should stop running like those long distance runs. There's now a maintenance period. So it's very much, what are we doing? How much are we doing of it? We were doing 5, maybe we were doing 5, well, to be fair, I really do 5, 3 to 5 of these way over here, but now we might just do 1 of these over here. So the doses drastically changed based on the time.
Okay.
Good example today, we're doing intervals on the bag. Ethan's 2 weeks out from fighting. It's very specific. So it's shorter intervals with a rest period that's twice as long. The goal for that is trying to be more fight specific in terms of what he needs from an energy perspective in the fight, the ability to ramp up, to output, to express power repeatedly, to have a bit of time to then settle back in, to recover those resources that we just used, and then to go again. We did that on the bag because it's specific to his fight.
Exactly.
Where previously, if you were to go back maybe 2 months ago, we were running hills. We had more rest time, so it was more about the output and then having that come all the way back, so power. And it was running on feet based because we were further away from fighting. So everything has a place. It's just where it fits in. And that's where people don't have the experience to know where to put things.
A lot of people just choose any kind of movement. They go, oh, I'm training, so it's...
Well, that's why he's the expert. He knows exactly when to do what and how much you have to do it, and knows everything to a T.
That's the thing. Like, so what people will do is they're going to look at what people are doing, and they'll see it either in the gym or they're going to see it on social media, and they'll straight away link that to that must be good for fighting. And like, it very well probably is good for fighting, but where is it good is the question.
Yeah.
And what stage are they in terms of not just their, like how close they are to fighting, but their level in terms of how trained they are. Are they an expert and you're a novice? Everything changes drastically.
Yeah, true.
And as well as that, what does their competition schedule look like? For instance, if I have a massive fight here, say Ethan had a big tournament
last week.
Say if he had one in August, and then he had something like there was stops on the way, we'd train very differently than if it was just for this one thing. So there's like just a lot of factors. And to be honest, like for people who are, from like a lower to intermediate level, from both a training standpoint and a competition standpoint, just like doing the basic stuff well is really good. You probably don't need to worry about like having those details like completely dialed in. But if you're someone who is, you know, a higher level athlete, who's higher on the competition level, then those things do matter, because all the little things matter.
I like that.
Details.
All about details.
Talking about details, might usually people pay you a solid coin for your service, because, you know, even just listening to the last like 10 minutes, you know, there's so much gold in there, like so much knowledge. But would you be able to give away like maybe a trick or two to enhance performance for the person listening who's very ambitious to make a change and just elevate?
I think one of the biggest things that people can do is think a bit more about their, like, how their training schedule looks. I think like training schedule is like, in terms of, it's that overarching piece that, you know, governs what you get out of everything. So how that might look is, I like the idea of one of the, you know, if we were to then go backwards to, you know, the big difference that, you know, that these athletes are doing in these high performance environments is that they're managing their training load very well. And a big part of managing training load is planning recovery. I had a chat to I've had a lot of chats to a lot of athletes about this lately, like seriously. And it's like, so you can plan your recovery, and you can be proactive, or, you know, like, or you can be reactive. And the way that looks is people train really hard and they just do the same thing every week, and they don't plan recovery. So eventually recovery is going to find them. It becomes a reactive thing. And they're forced to take time off because either they get sick or they get injured. And it's just always the case. And that's the cycle that they'll work in. Then they'll get back to normal. They'll train hard for a bit. They'll get sick or injured. So then they'll pull back. And it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like surfing. Right, you can ride the wave, you can be on top of it, or you can get smashed by it, and that's like essentially what happens to people. So I think, like, if we were to make it really simple, it's something that they do at rowing quite a lot with like the Olympic rowing team is, it's good to have hard weeks. If you can, having a step progression is really important, as in, week 2 is going to be a little bit harder than week 1. Week 3 is going to be a little bit harder, a little bit more than week 2. And that's going to be your hard week. When it comes to actually smashing yourself, that's awesome. You've got to train hard. Training hard is hugely important. But having a recovery week every, say, 4 weeks is just helpful to manage your fatigue.
I think that what he's trying to give away is, don't train harder.
What's that?
Train smarter.
No, train harder and smarter, please. So the thing is, you, like, what happens is when you don't plan your recovery, when you don't plan, like, have, like, 1, you should have 1 recovery day per week. 2, you should have a light week every 4 weeks-ish. Because what happens is, even if you think you're training hard, past that 4-week mark, you're really not. You're probably training at 8% of what you could be training at, but you're chronically training at 80% until you get injured. Where we can start a little bit lower, we can train hard, but then we can just have that drop off. So even, like, aside from that progression, if all you do is just plan to have a lighter week every 4 weeks, it means that you're actually going to be able to train harder. Your body's going to feel better. And at the end of the day, the way that we adapt to training and get better from training is when we recover. When we train, we break things down, and when we recover, we build them back up. And if all you're doing is breaking things down, then how do you get better? Eventually you just break. And it's the same, like, during the week when it comes to, like, having, like, alternating between, like, harder days and lighter days. That's a little bit more complicated. They shoot a video on that on YouTube. Smarter Performance, YouTube/Smarter Performance. Shameless plug. Which is, like, has a bit more detail. But yeah, you can really, like, for me, like, the biggest thing that I didn't mention this in the previous point, the biggest thing that you see at a high level is athletes are just really consistent. They have high quality training, and it's consistent. It's well managed. And you can't be consistent unless you put certain things in place to create consistency.
So proactive training, not reactive. Proactive rest, not reactive rest.
100% proactive, not reactive. And don't get me wrong, shit happens. And that's all good.
Is that the term that some people use sometimes is pre-recovery? Like pre-recovery and recovery and post-recovery? Like, it's
that's
been
a cool way to put it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah?
I haven't, but...
Well, it's like, it's small stuff. I don't know, maybe I'm giving away like a bit of knowledge here now, but it's small stuff that I was introduced to a long time ago. Is even with I make this a very simple example. So when I go and train, I wear a specific outfit, clothes, that are tailored to what I have to do, But then when I'm done with it, I can't sit in my own sweat for reasons X, Y, Z. You might get sick. There's some fungus that you might pick up and this and that. So you strip off basically, and you put some fresh clothes on afterwards. You stretch out, then you go and have a shower. And one of my coaches in the past was always saying, "Oh, you gotta have a set spare clothes, with you to like get changed." And that's like already thinking about if you pick up a fungus, there's no training.
Yes. Yeah,
X, Y, Z.
100%.
You get sick because you
100%.
small stuff.
Yeah, little things. Like that's exactly it.
It sounds like a good method for a lot of areas of life.
100%.
Including being social, spending time with different people and friend groups, as being proactive with your time, reactive.
Though, let's not talk about that. That's not something I'm good at.
How about?
Sorry,
No.
We get better.
That's
better.
okay. This is. You gotta understand. How you understand your athletes with how they eat, what they do. You just gotta understand each individual. It's the same with friends. You have certain things, traits. I have certain, I'm super anal with stuff like being on time. He's not. We meet in the middle. It's fine. However,
great combo.
Tell me though, because I wanted to give away a trick or two. We talked about stuff that you can do with your training, manage it, don't go harder the whole time. What are your non-negotiables when it comes to approaching your training?
My own
What
training?
is stuff that you just get out of the way here? I gotta do this. We cannot.
For me, biggest things is I've also been injured a lot, like previously.
Thank you. That's going to be
like,
the next.
which is-
That's the last big part of the podcast. The injury part comes afterwards.
I think so the big thing for me is consistency. Like I'm not a elite athlete, but training for me is really important. Like it keeps me happy. It keeps me feeling good, and it's one of those big things that it's one of those other areas that I can add progress to, and progress makes me happy. The biggest thing for me is around that training load piece. Like for instance, if I have been just doing something's important. If something's come up or I haven't trained as much or I've had X amount of time off, it's a good example is when people get sick. People get sick, they have time away from training, and I think fight sports are more emotional than other sports. So they have this emotional response and they just want to get back in and fucking get it straight away. That's it. So it's emotionally guided, but the time that you're most likely to get injured is when you've had a significant change in training load. So when your training load's gone from here chronically and you've dropped to here, so you've done less training, you've had X amount of time off, this is your most susceptible point to getting injured. You need to build back to this. So when you get back in and you're straight away you want to roll and you want to spar, it's dangerous. So you got to be smart about how you bridge the gap between going from here back to here. For me, I go for a maintenance session as soon as I get back, or maintenance work. Maybe I'll, if it's technical, if it's jiu-jitsu, I might do the skill work. I'll still roll, but I'm aware that I'm not going to roll at 100%. Question, sir?
It's not a question, but I think, because he's such an expert mind, I'm trying to pack this all up now and give it to someone, what is his non-negotiable thing that I was asking about. I'm sorry, Bill, because... Oh,
yeah, no, this is good. I'm gonna come around.
But that's what you get when you talk to an expert. He could talk about this for hours, but the non-negotiable thing is the consistency when it comes to... Because your training load, what you want to achieve, your state of injury, your state of fatigue, and I've experienced this with you many times before. You come into a session, I look at you, are you sparring today? And you're like, no, I'm not sparring today. I'm doing technical stuff here, I'm doing this. And I would say at least 9 out of 10 times you're very good with this. You stick to it. You're like, no, I know where I'm at and I'm going to follow my protocol and I'm not going to let you influence me or no, just a quick roll and then you get injured again and stuff. We've all been through it.
Seriously.
You're very good with it.
I think so when...
Am I right here? Am I packing this?
100%. So when you're healthy, performance is everything. I just want to get better at everything. But as soon as you get injured, as soon as you're not healthy, health is everything. So when you've been through those processes, especially in 2020, Armin was there in the cage when I blew my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. That's a pretty serious injury. Like it's the kind of injury that some people are never the same after, and it has a long period of time to get back into stuff. Normally it's 12 months. Normally it's a 12-month process before you're back to like normal training. So like before that, I was like just trying to train because I just wanted to get better. I wanted to fight. I wanted to do this. And as soon as that happened, I was just sad because all of a sudden, like now I just wish I could shadow box. You know what I mean? Like, and for me, that was like such
even that was taken away.
That was it. Couldn't even shadow box. I couldn't express physically, and it was like it made me realize that like for me, like the most important thing for me was being able to move around, to express, to experiment. It was a big part of what made me happy. None of those performance things mattered at all at that point in time. It was just about I just want to be able to just do basic things again, so I can express and be happy. And I think like that's where now my philosophy is from a personal standpoint. And like I'm not going to lie to you, like elite sport, it is not. I mean, it's not as healthy as just being a casual athlete. Like you're pushing your body to the limits. There is always going to be risk. Elite athletes always are going to have injuries, and that's a part of the process. But like managing is important. Back to what I was saying around like bridging that gap. If I've had 1 week and maybe I haven't been out, maybe I haven't trained, or if training's been a lot lower, or my training loads dropped significantly, I'm going to have 1 week of maintenance before I then go back to a full training schedule. If I've had like an extended period, multiple weeks, more than 1 week, where I haven't done much, maybe I've been on holiday and I just did whatever, I'm going to have at least a 2 week build back in before I get back to relative normal. The longer the time away, the more time they build back in. But at probably a simple level, 1 week compromised training, 1 week maintenance back in, more than 1 week, multiple weeks, 2 weeks build back in, maintenance, a little bit more on the second week, and then back in.
Alright, there you go. You heard it here first, people. That's your goal. If you've been off training for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a bit longer, take some advice.
Yeah, don't come out the gate.
Take some time.
Extremely hot. You gotta warm into it again.
Don't do what I do and come into the gym.
The next one is you got to be like pretty like you have to be self-aware as well. Because things happen, things get hurt, and there's a fine line between like am I being a bitch or is this something for concern? What I would suggest is that your warm up is kind of like your warning lights on your car. The engine light comes on and I floor it and my car blows up, then it's probably my fault because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but
if the warning light comes on when you're warming up, my suggestion is just take a bit of extra time. Take a bit of extra time to warm up, whatever you need to do, and then from there you can consider if that training is worth pulling back a bit or maintaining. Just be smart.
Yeah, the question was supposed to be, of course, we're looking for peak performance with what you do, but what happens if that is taken away from you with like a major injury? And thank you, you put the example on the table already.
Let's keep on that.
I was there when you blow your ACL, and it's shit for you, but the thing you said to me afterwards, and I will never forget, like the mental gratitude for what actually happened was, now I can be the lab rat for when other athletes that I train in the future. I had an ACL, like injury, major. There's many others, but let's keep with that one. And then it's the same. You've been a fat kid. Now you're performance, athlete.
I was
part-time as well, and everything in between also.
I did a lot of dodgy stuff during that process. Not dodgy stuff, but when it comes to people, it was pretty cool. Like honestly.
Do you want to throw a takeaway from that maybe out there? Like
yeah. Like just context.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to other people, you're very cautious. Like if one of my athletes was to have an injury like that, if you're an athlete and you're a serious athlete, you should have a good physio contact. And your physio, like for instance, I work with the guys at Foundation Physio in Hamilton. Shout out, they do a great job. And so anything happens, we're in communication so we can make that process better. So that's important. But you're still going to err on the side of caution. And you're going to do exactly what the physio says. For me, it was kind of like, well, I don't have to do that because if it goes wrong, then it's on me. So I pushed it as much as possible. Within the 8 to 9 weeks after that, I was hitting strength PBs in the gym. It was cool. Like, it was an interesting process, and it sort of told me that. So I'll give you the end result of it is that, you know, I was proactive about it. I literally called my physio from the cage when I was like on the ground, like, "Hey Paul, what are you up to?" I just blew my knee out. So I saw him that day. I was on a bike that night. So I started the rehab process very soon. I was essentially like working through when I mentioned earlier that I can take, you know, these uncoordinated kids to, you know, elite athletes in terms of being able to regress training and progress training. All I did was I took, you know, what are the things that are important, and then let's take them back to base level. What can I do with it at the moment? And that's the mindset that I had through that. What can I do? And then as you do stuff and as you progress, your can gets bigger. It's like increasing the font size. That gets bigger, bigger, bigger. So my takeaway to anybody who's injured is, as a coach, there's nothing worse than someone saying that this is hurt, I just can't come to training, because that's bullshit. You can come to training, and there's other things that you can do to be productive and to work on. And it doesn't have to be like around that. It can be, there's a bunch of things. As an athlete, especially a combat sport athlete, there is so much stuff to do and that you can do that there's no excuses. So reframing from I'm injured, I can't do stuff to what can I do is going to be the absolute biggest like mindset shift, because you're going to get injured. And if you don't use that time, you're just wasting time, and you could be making progress in other areas. There's always things you can do.
I like that. And if you can't move, pick up a camera and film your friend.
Do something. Come and coach. Come and write notes. You know, like it's really important, and it's important to maintain those habits as well.
Oh man, this is perfect. Perfect little. Amazing. What a, like, it's so cool to just sit here and listen. You know, like. You know, when you're on a friend scale, you know, I feel so proud, you know, just to, you know, getting all the knowledge in. But I want to cut back for the last question, because now we had the injury stuff covered, and you did amazing. How you answered, like, you know, like, do something else, you know, it's perfect. There's always something you can. Always. Even if you're just there and watch, you know, you pick something up, a little trick that you can write down in your book and whatnot. But I want to go back to. Because we unpacked that you like video games, and I want to have a funny one in the end, or close to the end. So let's say, William, as a peak performance, you can build your own character, video game character, fighter, on Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. I give you the keywords, and you tell me whose attributes you would like to acquire for your own character. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, fight IQ.
Like as a person? Like a fighter?
Who would
or in the gym?
Yeah, no, choose whoever.
Oh.
If you think like your own fight IQ is already through the roof, it's like, yeah, I take myself.
Should we go in the gym, or should we go like people?
Anywhere you want to go.
Oh, this is bad. You're putting me on the spot. We'll go with the develop. Should we go with the development squad?
Good. You choose. You can UFC, Bellator, ONE FC, M1 Global. Choose whoever you want. Like, it's your fighter, and you giving him the fight IQ of that particular.
Honestly, though, if we go UFC, like, let's be honest, Volkanovski is pretty close to being like the perfect UFC fighter. So there's not like, honestly though, like, okay, actually, let's go back. Fight IQ is probably going to be Israel.
Well, I put that on top because I can be the most powerful puncher in the division, whatever. But if I just don't know when to throw that punch,
in the gym, maybe Carlos Hicks, I reckon.
Carlos Hicks
in the gym.
Fight IQ. Easy. Shout out to Carlos Hicks. KO power.
In the gym,
do the gym, go global, go whatever.
Probably Ezra Bergen in the gym.
Ezra Bergen. BJJ skills.
Development squad.
Aiden Johnson. Wrestling skills.
Great question. We'll go Gus Berry.
Cardio.
Who's got the best cardio?
Go UFC again. Go. You can choose whoever fighter you want.
I mean, Volkanovski's got amazing cardio.
Oh, Volkanovski gets enough.
But I mean, like, we've kind of like blended a little bit, but.
Okay. Overall strength.
Overall strength, like strength.
Strength.
It depends on what we constitute as strength, honestly.
Yeah, but you know, I'm pinning you against the fence.
I think
I'm pinning your fight against.
I'm not going to say like strength specifically. I'm going to say like movement, body connection, the ability to, because you know there's different ways to produce force. I can produce force like from like elastic structures, and I can produce force from muscles. It all ties into movement, and we'll add in Matt Vale for that one. I reckon movement's amazing.
Boxing skills. Can I hint something? Kara, maybe?
Oh yeah. No, seriously though, she's amazing.
Yeah, your partner, Kara.
Oh, yeah.
7, 8, 9. I don't even know how many national champs. Kickboxing.
Like kickboxing. Carlos 6.
Carlos 6 again. Mental game.
Honestly, I'm going to say Aiden Johnson.
Aiden Johnson.
He's a silent killer. He is a silent killer.
Who's got the biggest dog? Like, if you would
honestly
take the dog and put it in a perfect fighter.
I reckon it's got to be a blend of Ethan Brockett and I'd probably say Ethan.
Okay.
Ethan. I was going to say Gus. So there's like superpowers in the development squad. Gus has the ability to like push themselves to his limit and operate there. Like he has like no issue just getting there. He can like operate on like absolute exhaustion. Aiden has the superpower to just like be like an absolute like a speeding train, where he just can generate. I don't even know how to put it. Superhuman strength essentially for like short periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ethan's got like a combination of everything. Ezra Bergen's got like the touch of death. Yeah, we've got a cool squad.
You do actually.
We've got a cool squad, man.
Like everyone's got
something,
and it's not really the same thing.
Nah, not at all.
We're talking about something that's the last attribute that your fighter gets is personality.
Oh, Matt Vale, 100%. He's got that thing when it comes to, it's like a borderline. Psycho, borderline, but in the way I can't like describe it in a way that is perfect for fighting. Like he's in terms of like people who are like born to fight from a personality perspective. That's it.
He's up there. Okay, that's your perfect character right there. Who's gonna take over the world?
I probably need to shoot off.
You need to shoot off.
I gotta get to kids netball. Hopefully, I got to get to the last quarter. I don't want to miss the last quarter.
Okay, Bill's got commitments. Of course,
we can do a part 2 though. We do part 2
at some point. Do you want to address then last words? You want to throw some shout outs out here? You want to tell the people where Smarter Performance is going from here? Do you want to say whatever you like? The camera is yours for that moment.
Thank you. Smarter Performance. I mean, there's a lot of places to go, but essentially it's my personal combat sport like performance business that we utilize with fighters to help them prepare better for competitions. A lot of stuff that we've talked about. I think like where I've gone away from like where my role and when I'm at HPCNZ and whatnot as a strength and conditioning coach, like I prefer like performance specialist when it comes to combat sport. Like the things we talked about, there's a lot of pieces that need addressing, and a lot of the times those pieces outside of directly training, especially in the gym when it comes to, or conditioning, are actually the most important, how things come together. I think the goal like next is I'm potentially going to look at opening up a bit of online stuff. So if you want to get in quick, feel free to flick me a message. Smarter Performance on Instagram or Facebook, I think is good. But yeah, honestly, it's a fun, like it's a cool space. I only do this because I enjoy it, and there's no, I don't know. I think for me, like there's not an option other than to do what I love, like with my life. And yeah, this is definitely it. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Thanks for big shout out to Tim Stevens, Adapt Media. Amazing production work.
I was about to say, any inquiries?
Armin Schmidt, thank you very much.
Message. Yeah, man, proud of you. Like, proud to call you friend. This is just like, I had so many grins on my face, just like being starstruck almost. Like, it's so cool, to see your friends thrive, you know, like in what they do, and like just the experience and knowledge and expertise, like just let it pour out, you know, and share with the world. So thank you for being our guest. There's definitely going to be a part 2 at some point further down the line. We're going to wrap this thing up, and that's us.
Thank you. Hold on, don't cut it yet. Don't cut it yet. This is really important. We got a handshake on camera. Well, you got to get your hand in. So, and then for everyone at home, there we go.
Nice.